Hello everyone, welcome to South Korea. We are now at the heart of Seoul. So today's weather is fine with a good temperature. I think it's a perfect day to go on a trip. So let's go. As you can see behind me, there is a two-story building called Bosinggak. During the Joseon dynasty since 1936, the bell in this place was used to announce the opening and closing of 4 gates around Seoul and notify emergencies. In modern times, since 1953, this bell is only used for ringing the watch night bell at midnight on New Year's Eve. The reason why we visit Bosinggak in the first place is because this bell is highly related to the name of the district where we are going to walk together. The name of this district is Jongno. Jong means bell and Lo means the street. So literally, Jongno means the bell street. Jongno, the bell street. Shall we walk? Now it begins. As Jongno has been the center of Seoul for more than 600 years, there are many historical sites. The place where we are going now also has a 626 history. The name is Jongmyun. Constructed in September 1395, Jongmyun is the oldest and most authentic of Confucian Loa shrine, where the Loa ancestral tablets of deceased kings and queens are enshrined and sacrificial rites are performed for them. There are 2 Loa memorial halls, which are Jongjeon and Yeongmyeon. Jongjeon, the main hall, attained its present scale with 19 split chambers, housing and 49 spirit tablets. One of the differentiated features from other buildings is that as the number of tablets was increased, Jongjeon was extended to the side several times. A rite called Jongmyo Jere was held in this place for worshipping the deceased kings and queens of the Joseon dynasty. It is the highest ranked ritual, so it must have been held strictly. During the rite with certain procedures, including meeting ancestral god, offering a cup of drink, and burning ritual prayer used for the rite, traditional court music called jereak and dance called ilmu are performed with traditional musical instruments. Jongmyo was designated by UNESCO World Heritage in 1995, and jereak was designated as masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO in 2001. You can still see the rite in every May and November. We are now on Insadong's traditional culture street. As you can see, there are lots of shops related to arts. It is because in the 1960s, artists settled on this street after looking for cheap places to rent. As a result, art exhibition halls naturally appeared here, and it has continued to form a cultural street. Currently, various Korean traditional culture stores, including traditional tea shops, galleries, restaurants, and pottery shops, are located. However, there is a real purpose to come to this street. It is to have a cup of tea in one of the famous tea shops in South Korea, which called Waterlook. Waterlook is a tea house based in Jeju Island. As the name shows, they brew green tea by selecting only young tea leaves from the tea field in Jeju Island. After the Joseon dynasty was founded, King Taeju moved the capital city from Kaesong to Hanyang in 1394. Since 1395, when the construction was completed in Hanyang, this palace had been a main royal palace for 600 years until the Japanese colonial era. Can you guess the name of it? Now we are going to the Gyeongbokgung Palace. So we are now at the entrance of Gyeongbokgung Palace. The name of the entrance is Gwangamun, which means the king's great virtue shines on the whole country. Here are two fantasy animals called hete. According to the geomantic practice, Seoul is weak against fire. Beside the palace faces Gwanang Mountain, which is a fire mountain. But hete was regarded as a clever beast that repels fire and disaster. Therefore, two statues were located to suppress the fiery energy. Those who visit the palace by riding a horse or in a sedan chair must get off in front of these statues and walk. Why don't we go inside and explore? Here now we arrive in front of the Jongmyun gate. Jongmyun gate was used for small audiences between the kings and his civil and military officials. It was also where coronations were held. Jongmyun gate was not simply a gate, but the place where political activities began. When ceremonies were held at Jongmyun gate, the officials of rank 2 stood to the north of Yeongjaegyo, and those below rank 3 lined up to the south of the bridge. Gyeongjeon Hall is the throne hall, where the king granted audiences to his officials, presided over large official functions, and met foreign envoys. Gyeongjeon Hall is the largest and most formal hall in the Gyeongbokgung Palace. Major events such as coronations and receiving foreign envoys were held around Gyeongjeon Hall. During the functions, court officials found their places according to the rank stones planted on the courtyard. Imagine that you are king of Joseon dynasty and standing on this place. So we are now at the 사정전. 사정 implies one gain if one thinks of the many ways of the world, but loses if one does not think of them. Unless the king thinks deeply and examines carefully, he cannot distinguish right from wrong. He must ponder more deeply. Gyeongbokgung Palace has separated bedchambers for the king and the queen. Gangneungjeon Hall is the king's living quarters, and Gyotaejeon Hall, entered through Yangimon Gate behind the king's quarters, is for the queen. We are now at the Gyeonggi Pavilion. Gyeonggi Pavilion, a pavilion located on a front to the west of the living quarters, was built as a venue for feasts for foreign envoys and the king and his court officials. The name means that king can handle national affairs only when he has the right people around him, and this place was used on joyous occasions. The meaning of Gyeongbokgung is the palace greatly blessed by heaven. Do you agree with its meaning? And how do you find it? Already the next one is our final destination. When you come throughout the gate Gwanghwamun, you will face the most famous square in South Korea. The formal name of Gwanghwamun Square is Yukjo Gori. Yuk means 6, and Jo means ministry, and Gori means street. So literally, here was a street where 6 ministries of Joseon dynasty was located. On the east side, Ijo and Hojo were located, and on the west side, Yejo, Byungjo, Hyungjo, and Gongjo were located. Besides, other governmental organizations such as 의정부, 사헌부, and 한성부 were located in the same street. Here, Gwanghwamun Square is famous for 2 statues, and one of them is Lee Sun-shin, who was an admirer, and he is our national hero. In 1592, the Japanese invaded Joseon, and the war continued until 1598. It is recorded that he engaged in at least 23 battles against the Japanese navy. One of the famous battles is the Battle of Myeonglang in 1597. The Japanese army planned to enter the land, and the navy planned to advance into the West Sea through the South Sea. Even though he had only 13 warships than 133 Japanese warships, he managed to disable or destroy 31 Japanese warships without losing a single ship. By protecting the South Sea, Joseon was able to reverse the atmosphere of war. Another one is the great King Sejong. Before the 15th century, Koreans used to use Chinese letters even though they communicated in Korean. The ordinary people who cannot read Chinese letters could not understand or read any government official notifications. Taking pity on these people, King Sejong invented the letters by himself in 1443 and promulgated the letters in 1446 through a book called 훈민정음. These letters are what we call Hangul, the Korean alphabet. Currently, this scale is used in many ways. Some people say that here is the shrine of democracy because there were protests called the candlelight demonstrations against President Park Geun-hye during 2016 and 2017. There were millions of people, and these demonstrations were successful as the president was impeached. Unfortunately, I cannot show you more details about this square as the construction is undergoing by this October. In the past, car lanes were on each side and the pavement was in the middle. But after the construction, the pavement will be moved to the side and car lanes will be in the middle, as you can see. You can expect that this place will be more fancier. Now it's time to say goodbye. It was really great to have a walk with you. So take care. Bye.